Hey folks, welcome back. My name is Krishna. If you're new to the channel, welcome. So we're continuing our exercises in learning drawing fundamentals. And specifically, we're going to be looking at elliptical and spherical shapes, how to draw them, why they're important, and some things to look out for as you're practicing. So in the previous video, I talked about drawing grids. And in the video before that, I actually talked about how you could make a really killer pencil brush and a shader brush. We're going to be exploring shading in a future video, but for right now, we're just learning the fundamental volumetric shapes and how to draw them. We want to draw them correctly before we begin shading them. So I'm going to lower the opacity of my grid just so that it's visible, but it's not in my face so much. And I'm going to start off by just drawing a spherical shape. And you'll notice that when I actually draw, I'm using my entire arm. I'm not using my wrist. If I draw with my wrist, I can only draw on something that's very, very small. As I start to draw something larger, really large, you can start to see that I'm limited by my range of movement on my wrist. But if I draw with my entire arm, I can draw ridiculously large circles and they look somewhat smooth. They're not perfect, but the idea is you're trying to train your arm to kind of do most of the work. So if I'm drawing ellipses, or if I'm drawing spheres, it's almost like I'm getting my pivot off of my shoulder as opposed to my wrist. So that's something I would keep in mind as you're drawing. Try to draw on a large surface area and try to make sure that you use your entire arm. Now that being said, once you've drawn a spherical shape, you want to denote what I call tick marks. These are little points of interest, if you will. And I'm placing these tick marks at opposite sides of this shape. I'll do the same thing over here. And what we're going to do is, instead of using a straight line to go right through the sphere, because that's not really going to give us this illusion of roundness, instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make a curved line, like so. And then I'll put a dotted line, and this simply says that we've got a rounded form in the front, and the dotted line signifies that part of the sphere that is hidden from view. And we'll do the same thing for the latitudinal contours. These are contours that we're creating. And this is giving us this idea that we have a dimensional object. Now, if I just move this off to the side here, and I'm going to draw another sphere, I'm drawing my lines curved, except this time I'm going in the opposite direction. And I can draw the latitudinal contour either up or down. It doesn't really matter. So long as the opposite side, or the hidden from view side, is inflected in the opposite direction. And so this is our spherical shape. You want to make sure that the tick marks are placed on the opposite sides. And this works even when you're dealing with, say, something that is at an angle. Let's say that I've got a planet that's on its axis. So I've got a tick mark over here, and I can draw my contours. And there we go. We actually have something that's at a tilt. Now, that's the spherical shape. The difference between spherical shape and an elliptical shape is that an ellipse actually has a major axis. So let me just draw two shapes here. I'll draw the ellipse, I'll draw a circle. If I look at just a standard circle flat shape, we have two different axes, right, that we're contending ourselves with. So we have our vertical axis, we have our horizontal axis, and these are both equal in terms of length. However, in an elliptical shape, you have a major axis, which is going to be along the longest side of the elliptical shape, and then you have a minor axis. And that's the big difference between a circle and an ellipse. And then if we extend that analogy, if we're going from spheres to ellipses, our contours are going to be such that the major axis will appear to have a longer length compared to the minor axis, and that's how we can differentiate between ellipses and spheres. Same rules apply. You're picking points at the opposite sides, and then you're using a curved line to connect them. Very, very important, because that's what's going to give your spheres and ellipses some dimension and some form. Now, I've avoided drawing on the grid here because I'm focusing primarily on how to draw elliptical and spherical shapes. With this understanding in place, let's take a look at how this is affected by the grid. I'll just bring the grid up a little bit in terms of opacity so we can see it just a smidge better. And on a new layer, I'll just draw bigger. And I'm placing this sphere at kind of a tilt. Sometimes I'll actually just quit drawing the tick marks. I'll just draw the line, so I have to remind myself that I need to slow down a little bit. So I've got this spherical shape. I can place this spherical shape anywhere along this grid and it will look believable. It will look correct. And that's because only a very tiny portion of the sphere's surface area is making contact with the ground. So it doesn't really matter. This is the easiest shape to place on a grid. Later on, when we look at cylinders and when we look at cones and cubes, you can quickly see when those objects start to look off when you're placing them on a grid. And we're going to talk about some things to look out for when we get to those particular lessons. But even if I draw an ellipse and I place that ellipse however I wish, it will look, for the most part, I'll just make an angle like this. It will look believable. And again, I can move this up, I can move this down, I can even move it in front. And you might be thinking, well, how do I know what is actually in front? Well, if I've got a gridded surface here, I can easily tell that the ellipse is in front of the sphere, even though the drawings appear to have lines that are overlapping each other. If I were to take the same two shapes and just have a line segment, it's not super obvious because there's no, surface. It's just basically a line. You can't really tell. I mean, you could guess, but what if you have two objects that are positioned side by side? It's really difficult to know what is in front of the other, right? So that's why I'm always emphasizing this idea of drawing a grid before you place objects on the grid. Draw the surface that you're planning on using and then draw the objects on top of it. And that's what I recommend even when you're drawing a character, let's say in a jungle, or you're putting an object that's in a room. Draw the room first, or draw the outlines of the room, and then place the figures and the objects within that particular area. So why is this important? Why are we spending all this time on latitudinal and longitudinal lines and trying to imply something that's round? Well, this has a really applicable area of interest when you're drawing characters for animation or comics. So if I were to draw this shape like this, I'm going to take that same circle, and this time I'm going to flip it. And you'll see momentarily what I'm going to do here. So we use the intersection between the horizontal and vertical axis lines as a landmark for placing features on the face, like if you're dealing with a stylized character. For example, if I were to draw a Bugs Bunny-like character, knowing where the intersection is allows me to place Bugs's cheeks. Same thing for his head, right? Or I can use the horizontal axis line here to place Bugs's eyes. So in this way, I can draw the character and have that character look relatively consistent from orientation to orientation if the character's looking left, up, down, whatever. So this allows me to not only keep consistency, but it also allows me to draw the character from completely different angles. Like if I'm having Bugs look up at an angle like this, we might see more of his cheeks and we might see less of his head, right? So it makes it very, very easy to stay consistent regardless of the angle your character is in. We'll just do one more where we have something like this, and we can see that we're seeing more of Bugs' forehead compared to his cheeks. And this is just a quick overview of where I'm going with this. But it's not just for drawing stylized characters, but if you're drawing even, say, something that's more realistic, being able to draw these ellipses and, you know, spherical shapes from any angle can be very, very beneficial. So that concludes my lecture for drawing spherical and elliptical shapes. Two things to keep in mind: try to draw with your arm, not your wrist. And second of all, when you're drawing spheres and you're drawing ellipses, make sure that the contours that you draw are curved. Don't use straight lines to connect your points, otherwise that will flatten the form. Just to give you an example before we go, if I just draw straight lines like this, I have no idea of what the surface is. It looks like it's just a flat surface. But if I take that same shape and bend those contours, this automatically suggests that we have a rounded form. So if you found value in this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have topics that you want me to discuss in a future video, put them in the comments below. And if you made it this far, just give me a little Bugs Bunny emoji. All right. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.